An official announcement from the Council of Ministers. There has been an accident at the Chernobyl atomic power station.
At 1:30 in the morning on the 26th of April 1986, there was a serious accident at the Chernobyl nuclear power station in Ukraine. As a result of human error and a design flaw, a huge explosion destroyed the fourth reactor, releasing a deadly cloud of radiation into the atmosphere. Soviet soldiers were the first ordered in to desperately try and fill the gaping hole where the reactor once was, with heavy lead overalls being their only protection from lethal radiation. As word of the accident spread, fear of the unknown effects of radiation gripped the locals.
Еще раз призываю всех вас, дорогие братья и сестры, последовать хорошему примеру.
Chernobyl is now a 30-kilometer guarded exclusion zone, and within the zone is the city of Pripyat. Once home to over 50,000 people, it's now an eerie ghost town, deemed too unsafe to live in.
So most of the workers would live here with their families. In fact, the whole town was created specially for them. If it wasn't for the nuclear power station, Pripyat would never exist.
And Vita, this town and the people in it were held as a Soviet model, weren't they? Because they were at the cutting edge of science and they were mastering the atom, and then it all went horribly wrong.
Yes, like a bad omen from the very beginning. People were 100% sure that the nuclear power was a very promising industry, you know, safe, absolutely safe. And it all went to nothing. This is the Kremlin in Moscow here on the wall. There used to be a very nice mural of the Soviet people living together, representing the scientists, the operators of the nuclear power station, the peasantry.
Pripyat was the closest town to Chernobyl, and although there were rumours of an accident at the power station, the government played it down, claiming there was no danger.
You know, contrary to popular belief, those people didn't really realize what had happened, because they were told that was just a fire, but you know, fires occur every day.
They didn't realize there was the silent killer that is radiation.
Yeah, because you can smell it, you can touch it. So they were just, you know, continuing their daily routine.
As they continued their daily routine, radiation levels continued to climb until they became so dangerously high that Soviet scientists told the government they must evacuate the city immediately.
Vita, it's hard to believe that 50,000 people were evacuated from the city here.
Yeah, they were evacuated, what is more surprising, in 2 hours. They were all evacuated 36 hours after the accident, the next day. So in 2 hours, the whole town was empty.
So rows and rows of buses lined up and people got in. They were told to leave with just their passports.
Yeah, they were told that you guys are going to leave the town for just 3 days. Then you're going to come back, you know, resume your regular routine. So they would take their passports, some money and some food for 3 days. This is it.
The evacuation was focused on the wealthy town of Pripyat, where most of the power plant's workers and their families lived. Whereas in close-by poorer villages, it took up to 10 days to evacuate the people, while all the time they were being exposed to more radiation. The people in these regions were badly affected, particularly children.
Fuel particles, you know, were in the air. Thus people were inhaling them, and later on they would have problems with their lungs, respiratory system. The risk of some lung cancer was higher. Okay? Digestive system, since they were eating the vegetables and greens from the soil containing radioactive iodine, cesium and strontium, and iodine would integrate into their thyroid gland, causing thyroid cancer or problems with tissues.
So for 10 days after the disaster, the children would have continued to come to the play school here, play outside, totally unaware that they were inhaling all these highly radioactive particles. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing, but in fact, back in the Soviet Union, people were especially peasantry, people living in the villages, were totally believing what the government was telling them. So if the government was saying it's okay, if they were not evacuating them, then probably people would presume that we're fine.
When they too were evacuated, they were told to leave everything behind, as it was now highly contaminated. And 30 years on, the radiation levels are still high.
So Vita, normal background radiation is around 0.3?
Well, for Ukraine, the natural radiation background is up to 0.3. But if we approach this soil, it's going to be even higher.
That's amazing. The safe limit is 0.3 and it's up to 22.4. Is it safe to be this close to it?
Well, it's safe to be in a short period of time, but living at such conditions is no good.
3 decades on, and at an estimated cost of €1 billion, work is still being carried out to secure what's left of the power station and stop even more radiation escaping. And for the towns and villages that were once home to so many people, they'll remain frozen in time for years to come.
Vida, what's going to happen to Pripyat? And will people ever be able to return here?
Well, it's hard to say what's going to happen to the town exactly. As far as you see now and then, the buildings are falling down, because, it's leaking inside, it's raining inside. So in a few decades, most probably, there won't be any town, because all the buildings would have collapsed, and so people would have no place to return.
So nature will take over and people will have nothing to come back to here.
Yeah, so even now, nature is taking over everything, eating the buildings, and the trees are growing inside the buildings, like here.
But the legacy of the disaster is much more serious than the ghost towns you see here. Even hundreds of kilometers away in another country, the effects of Chernobyl are still being felt to this day.
Vida, all the children that we saw back in the orphanage in Gorodichi in Belarus, disabled, very underdeveloped, do you think a lot of that is still connected to what happened here 30 years ago?
Well, undoubtedly, as scientists claim, we will feel the effect of Chernobyl in future generations too, not only in Belarus, but in Ukraine too.
There has been an accident at the Chernobyl atomic power station.